After another business dinner that left me vomiting, I crouched on the sidewalk and called my hubby. Wifey, just wait a little longer. I'll come pick you up as soon as I finish things here. I waited 3 hours in the cold wind, only to receive a photo he'd accidentally sent me. In the picture, he was clumsily trying to knit a scarf, with his childhood sweetheart sitting beside him, tidying the yarn ball for him. Watching the photo get quickly retracted, I suddenly felt utterly bored with it all. I replied with how sweet and hailed an Uber home. My phone kept vibrating the whole time, but I ignored it. When I got home and checked my phone, there were dozens of missed calls from Ethan Hayes. Finally, he sent a voice note and a screenshot of a purchase. Wifey, it's not what you think. I'll explain when I get home. I cleared your Amazon cart. Get some sleep. I love you. Hearing those last 3 words, I smiled bitterly. When did the word love become so cheap? My stomachache got worse and worse, so I had to go to the hospital emergency room in the middle of the night. I never expected to run into Ethan there. He clearly didn't expect it either, and didn't even have time to let go of Avery Moore's hand when he snapped out of it. He strode over and dragged me into a corner. What's going on? I told you I'd explain when I got home. Why did you follow me here? I blinked and held up the medicine in my hand. I have a stomachache. I'm here to see a doctor. Ethan choked for a moment, glanced back at Avery who was still waiting, and said in a low voice, Layla, I know what you want to ask, but don't overthink things between Avery and me. I nodded seriously and said, okay. All the excuses Ethan had prepared were silenced by that single word. He stared at me and fell silent again. I saw he had no intention of continuing, nor of letting me go. After thinking for a moment, I ventured, then I'll head out first. Drive safe. You too. A crack appeared on Ethan's face. He grabbed me as I was about to leave, his lips moving for a long time before he said hoarsely, Don't you have anything to ask me? I frowned. You already cleared my Amazon cart, didn't you? What else is there to say? If I say anything more, won't I just look aggressive? That would be so embarrassing. The more I spoke, the grimmer Ethan's expression became. A phone call came in, and I replied, See you tomorrow at the usual spot. As I was about to leave, Ethan grabbed me again. There was wariness in his voice now. What usual spot? Who are you going to see? I smiled at him, but slowly pulled my hand away from his. Since I didn't ask about you and Avery, you shouldn't ask too much about my business either. I turned and left Ethan standing there, his face filled with shock. The person who'd called me was my best friend, Nora Parker. Nora had gotten her heart broken 2 days earlier, and to cheer her up, we'd agreed to meet at a bar tomorrow. Once upon a time, Ethan was all I thought about, and I'd turned down Nora's invitations time and time again. Ethan doesn't like me coming to places like this, and I think he's right. It's not safe here. After all, looking back now, I must have been out of my mind. When I met up with Nora, she threw her arms around me and sobbed. He's still really nice to me when he's not giving me the cold shoulder. He just doesn't show his feelings well. I looked at people with his sign are slow to warm up. He said she's just a coworker. I can't make him have no female friends at all, can I? Every single word was exactly the stupid things I'd said when I was deeply in love with Ethan. But thankfully, Avery's arrival was like a loud slap that jolted me awake. I pulled the drunk woman to her feet and dragged her onto the pulsating dance floor. I called over a few hot male companions to keep her company. That night, we had the time of our lives. We took tons of cute photos, posted them together on our Instagram stories, and then parted ways reluctantly. I crouched by the door waiting for my ride, and soon a black car pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing the man's face, tight with suppressed anger. Layla Bennett. Get in the car. My foggy brain was confused. How come when I called Ethan to pick me up, an Uber showed up? But when I called an Uber, it's Ethan who shows up. Before I could react, the man pulled me into the passenger seat without a word. He fastened my seatbelt for me, his eyebrows furrowed tightly. Do you think you're a child? Getting drunk just because you're upset about one thing. Avery accidentally hurt herself that day. I couldn't just leave her, could I? Stop being so petty all the time. And have you forgotten the ground rules we set? Didn't I say I don't like you being too close to other men? Delete those photos from your Instagram stories right now. I frowned. Ethan's voice was giving me a headache. I rubbed my temples and said impatiently, "Are you going to drive me home or not? If not, let me out. I'll take an Uber." Ethan looked utterly incredulous, as far as I could remember. This was the first time I'd spoken to him so rudely, but this was exactly the tone he'd always used with me. I don't remember how I got home. All I know is I slept like a log for the rest of the ride, now that I no longer cared about Ethan. My sleep quality had improved drastically. When I woke up, I realized I'd slept alone last night. I'd kicked Ethan out to the living room, and the nearly 6'3" man was curled up on the tiny couch. He looked almost pitiful. When Ethan woke up, he just gave me a cold look. I called out to him before he went into the bathroom, "I'm going shopping with Nora today. You'll have to fend for yourself for brunch." The door froze for a moment, then slammed shut so hard the walls shook. I rubbed my ear and rolled my eyes. It's just one night on the couch. No need to throw a fit. After getting ready, I opened the door while talking to Nora on the phone to confirm our meeting spot, only to find Avery standing at the door with a gentle smile. "Good morning, Layla. I came to pick up something I left here." Before I could say anything, Ethan, who'd just finished showering, came out drying his hair and said, "Come in and sit down first." Avery nodded at me and walked in without waiting for an invitation. "I think I accidentally left my necklace in Ethan's car," she said, sticking out her tongue playfully. "It's all my fault for being so careless. I need it urgently later, so I had to come bother you this early." Ethan handed Avery the glass of milk he'd heated up for himself. "Was it cold coming here?" Avery smiled. "I took an Uber, so no. It wasn't cold." This was the first time I'd seen them interact, and the first time I'd seen Ethan show such quiet care in every little gesture and word. When he was with me, Ethan always liked to say he didn't get it. He didn't get sweet nothings. He didn't get how to care. He didn't get how to love someone. Now I see he just didn't want to. I just wasn't worth the effort. Nora texted me, saying she wanted to take me to meet someone before we went shopping. I was busy replying to her text, so I ignored the two people behind me and hurried out the door. The person Nora took me to see was a divorce lawyer. "Don't you remember? Yesterday you said you wanted to divorce Ethan, begged me to find you a lawyer, and cried that you wanted it done as soon as possible." Nora's reminder brought back fragments of memory. I did seem to remember saying that while lying on one of the male companion's shoulders last night. Nora watched my face carefully and said gravely, "You weren't just joking, were you? Did I do the wrong thing by trying to help?" I looked down and briefly thought back on the 3 years of my marriage to Ethan, and then I thought of the tenderness and indulgence in his eyes when he looked at Avery. I shook my head and smiled at the lawyer. "No. I really need this. You're right on time. I was just wondering how much compensation I can get for adultery in a marriage." After talking to the lawyer, I happened to scroll past Avery's new Instagram story. It was taken in my kitchen, with a table full of dishes. Avery was holding up a plate of food, shot from the popular boyfriend POV angle. "Haven't cooked in so long. I'm a little rusty. Someone better not complain." Ethan replied with 3 words below, "It's delicious." I took a screenshot without expression and showed it to the lawyer, who was still there. "Can this count as evidence?" They were alone in our house making a homemade lunch made with love. The lawyer looked at Nora, then at me. She couldn't help but ask, "I hope this isn't too personal, but Nora said you two had a great relationship before. How did it come to this? I mean, you don't seem upset at all." The lawyer asked carefully, but I didn't feel offended in the slightest. Thinking back, I'd had my hysterical moments. The first time I found out Ethan had stayed up all night talking to another girl, I cried for hours. All I got in return was Ethan complaining that I was being sensitive and paranoid. The second time, I caught him quietly singing happy birthday to Avery, who shares my birthday, while I was making my birthday wish. I smashed the cake and forced him to delete her contact. To punish me, he didn't come home all night. The third time I found out he'd gone to a dinner with her. I didn't confront him. I just curled up in my room and cried silently. When I saw that accidentally sent photo the other day, I thought I'd be angry. I thought I'd call him immediately, yelling and demanding answers. But I wasn't. My heart was completely calm. So calm it was like I was watching a drama that had nothing to do with me. That's when I realized my love for Ethan had long since worn away, eroded by years of coldness and neglect. My phone vibrated. And a message from Ethan popped up. We just both happened to be hungry, so we made food at home. Just explaining so you don't get the wrong idea again. I didn't reply, turned on Do Not Disturb, and went shopping with Nora. When I got home late at night and turned on the bedroom light, I was startled to see a figure sitting on the couch. I jumped, and before I could ask what he was doing, Ethan spoke first, his face dark. Why didn't you reply to my messages, Layla Bennett? There's a limit to how long you can pout. I kicked off my shoes and said casually, I was busy and forgot. Sorry. Ethan clearly didn't accept that excuse. He walked over to me, his face still dark. Busy and forgot. So leaving me alone with Avery at home was also because you were busy. Layla, you weren't like this before. I had no idea what he was trying to say. After a full day of shopping, all I wanted was to rest. If there's really nothing between you two, what good would my suspicion do? If I ask too many questions, you'll just call me sensitive again. Why would I set myself up to get yelled at? Ethan frowned, grabbed me, and pulled me down onto the couch. Layla, we need to talk. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. It was rare for Ethan to talk about our relationship with such a serious expression. Avery left right after dinner. Nothing happened between us. And that necklace wasn't even in my car. She remembered wrong. But Layla, you've changed. I barely recognize you anymore. I fought off sleep and asked, how have I changed? This time, Ethan was silent for a long time. His voice was low, with a hint of hurt that was almost unnoticeable. I don't think you care about me anymore like you used to. I didn't hear that last sentence. I'd already fallen asleep on the couch, overwhelmed by exhaustion. The lawyer worked fast. The next day, while I was at work, the divorce papers arrived in my email. I opened them and saw that the property division terms were very favorable to me. During my lunch break, I went downstairs to print out the hard copies. When I turned around, I saw Ethan, and walking with him was none other than Avery. I was going to pretend I didn't see them and just go into the print shop, but then I thought it would be convenient to get the papers signed right now. So I turned back and said politely, "Excuse me, could you wait a minute? I have something to talk to you about." While I was waiting, Ethan sent 2 messages. I'd turned off Do Not Disturb to make it easier to schedule the divorce meeting. We just ran into each other. She was here to pick something up. And I don't always give her rides, but that was definitely crossing a line. It won't happen again. I glanced at them but didn't reply. What did it matter to me anymore? We were about to get divorced. The printer wasn't working well, and it took me over 10 minutes to get everything printed. When I finally finished and went outside, Avery was gone. But Ethan was still standing there. I was surprised. This was probably the longest Ethan had waited for me in years. I walked over and smiled. "Sorry to keep you waiting." He waved his hands hurriedly. "It's fine. It's fine. I had nothing else to do anyway." I was pleased with this polite, distant conversation. I wanted to keep it that way even after the divorce. No, better yet, never see each other again for life. Thinking that, my smile became a little more genuine. Seeing this, Ethan thought I was in a better mood. He smiled too and leaned over to look at the papers in my hand. "What are you printing? Next time just go to my office. It'll be easier." Before he could finish, I handed him the 2 copies of the divorce papers and smiled. "Divorce papers? No time like the present. Why don't you sign them today?" Ethan froze. The smile hadn't left his face yet, but confusion had already filled his eyes. He looked almost heartbreakingly lost. "What do you mean?" "Exactly what it says." I pushed the papers a little closer to him. "I've thought about it carefully, and we're better off getting divorced. That way you can be with your childhood sweetheart, and I won't be a third wheel bothering you too. It's a win-win for you." "Really? As for the property division, since you committed adultery during the marriage, you'll naturally have to pay me more compensation. But with how much money you make, Mr. Hayes, I'm sure you won't mind this small amount." The words "committed adultery" finally jolted Ethan awake. He blurted out, "I didn't." "Layla, you can't say that. Didn't you?" I sent Ethan all the photo evidence I'd saved, one by one. As his eyebrows furrowed tighter and tighter, I reminded him. Adultery isn't just about sleeping with someone. Now, can you sign? But as Ethan looked at the photos, the surprise on his face slowly faded. In its place was a faint look of mockery. Layla, you've been acting weird these past few days just for this moment, haven't you? Deep down, you're still upset about me and Avery. As he spoke, he deleted the photos from his phone one by one. Didn't I promise you I'd keep my distance from her from now on? You haven't been replying to my messages. Will you reply to me now? I twitched my mouth, unable to follow Ethan's logic for a moment, but I humored him and sent him a message. It was the electronic copy of the divorce papers. I suggest you read them carefully before signing. Feel free to contact me if anything doesn't seem right. With that, I left the print shop and called an Uber. I didn't go home. Instead, I contacted the real estate agent I'd found online. I'd found a house on the west side that I liked. With my savings over the years plus the compensation, I could almost pay for it in full. It was a 5,000 square foot luxury penthouse. As the agent showed me around, he smiled and said, "This can be your walk-in closet, and this room can be your husband's study." I interrupted him politely. "I live alone." The agent immediately looked apologetic. "I saw you were wearing a wedding ring. So I thought." His reminder made me realize I was still wearing my wedding ring. So I took it off right in front of him and smiled softly. "I'm getting divorced soon." The agent nodded in understanding. Then I started brainstorming ideas of my own. So instead of a study, how about we turn that room into a gym and add a few game areas? I have a lot of friends. The agent nodded repeatedly. When I finished looking at the apartment, the city lights were just coming on. I took an Uber back home to pack some of my things. When I pushed open the door, I suddenly smelled food. Ethan was coming out of the kitchen carrying a plate of food. The sleeves of his shirt were rolled up to his elbows. A pink apron was tied neatly around his waist. When he saw me standing still at the door, Ethan untied his apron and smiled. "Perfect timing. Go wash your hands and eat." In the past, this sight would have made me so happy I wouldn't have slept all night. I would have taken a million photos and posted a 9-photo Instagram post. Then I would have texted every single one of my friends saying my hubby cooked for me. And finally, I would have kissed Ethan's face through my tears and cried, "Hubby, I'm so lucky to have you." Now, I just smiled faintly and said politely, "No thanks. I ate on the way here." The atmosphere instantly turned icy. The smile on Ethan's face became forced. I walked toward the bedroom, and Ethan followed close behind, trying to convince me. "I spent all afternoon making this. Won't you just try a bite?" I think it turned out pretty good. When I refused again, he backed off a little and brought me a glass of juice. "Then try this. It's freshly squeezed." "No. I'm really full. Just one sip, please." In the scuffle, the glass slipped and spilled juice all over both of us. The glass shattered on the floor with a crash. The sticky wet feeling was extremely uncomfortable. I took a deep breath and looked at Ethan. "Can you just tell me what you want?" Juice had also spilled on Ethan's shirt. In fact, his crisp white shirt was even more stained than mine. But Ethan didn't care. His eyes were fixed on me. "Nothing. You've been cooking for so long. Today, I wanted you to rest. 5 years of dating, 3 years of marriage, nearly 3,000 days and nights, over 8,000 opportunities to cook, and only now, on the day I'm divorcing him, does he remember how to cook? Isn't that ridiculous?" I ignored him and turned into the bathroom. After changing out of my wet clothes, I called an Uber haul. While I was packing, Ethan kept trying to get my attention. "Layla, I ordered your favorite bubble tea and cake. Won't you have a bite? I just got tickets to that concert you like next week. I heard it's snowing up north. Let me take you to see the snow." He followed me from the bathroom to the bedroom, then to the living room, until I'd completely tuned out his constant chatter and could ignore him entirely while I worked. Until Ethan couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed my hand and forced me to look up at him. Ethan's eyes were red. He bit his lip and asked carefully, "Please don't leave." Seeing him like this reminded me of the first time we met, by the downtown river bridge. The cold wind howled, 17-year-old Ethan stood by the river, looking dejected and unsteady on his feet. I was walking home from school and immediately imagined the worst possible scenario: a gambling father, a drunk mother, a sick little sister, and a broken boy. I didn't hesitate. I ran forward and threw my arms around his waist, dragging him back from the edge. I screamed, "It's not worth it. Think about all the good things in the world. Think about candy apples and bubble tea with pearls. Think about spicy hot pot, spicy noodle soup, and spicy fried chicken." Before I could finish my mouth-watering plea, Ethan pushed me away with a blank expression. First of all, I wasn't trying to kill myself. Me. Oh. Okay. Second, can you let go of my waist? Me. After asking, I found out Ethan was just upset because he'd done poorly on a test. But Ethan really did have a bad relationship with his family, and for the first time in years, a stranger had shown him kindness. So he started pursuing me. At first, I turned him down. I wasn't looking to date back then. When I rejected him, Ethan looked at me with that same hurt expression and said softly, "But you're all I have," and that's how he won me over. After that, whenever Ethan made me mad, he'd pull out that same look. He knew I couldn't say no to him. As time went on, I fell deeper and deeper in love with him. Even when he stopped pretending to be hurt, I'd still forgive and accept him unconditionally. But he loved me less and less. Our love was a seesaw. And looking back, I realized the Ethan who loved me most had stayed behind 8 years ago, watching me from afar, through countless misunderstandings and years of coldness. Coming back to the present, I gave Ethan a calm smile. Are you done? If you are, can you let go of me? My ride is downstairs. Ethan still followed me downstairs, like a shadow. When Avery showed up, Ethan was holding on to the hem of my shirt, still trying to talk to me. That desperate, pleading look was something no one had ever seen except the old me, not even the me who'd been married to him. Avery was stunned into silence, but Ethan didn't care that she'd seen him like this. He just frowned in annoyance that his chance to talk to me had been interrupted. Ethan, there's still something wrong with the papers we printed last time. Can you? Am I the only lawyer in the entire world? Ethan cut her off coldly. Don't you have a search function on your phone? Can't you look it up yourself? Giving her an annoyed look, Ethan turned and ran back up the stairs. I'd already packed most of my essentials. The only thing left in my hand was the last item that connected me to Ethan, a ceramic figurine. It was the one we'd made together at a craft store on our first date. It wasn't well made, you could even say. It was crude. But because we'd put so much love into it, I'd treasured it for 8 years. I'd posted about it on my Instagram stories at least 100 times. My love for Ethan had been loud and unapologetic. Now, thinking about it only made me feel embarrassed and ashamed, like it was an embarrassing part of my past I couldn't escape. When Ethan walked in and saw me staring at the figurine, he thought I was having second thoughts. He hurried over. Layla, I know you're not joking about the divorce anymore, but please, for the sake of our 8 years together, for the sake of this Stitch figurine, give me one last chance, please. He hugged me tightly, his hands trembling faintly. I snapped out of it and pushed him away hard, and said coldly, "You've got the wrong idea. I was just trying to decide whether to throw it away or sell it. But something this ugly, no one would buy it anyway." Ethan's face paled. Layla, it's not ugly. Don't say that. Watching him panic, a saying popped into my head. Late affection is utterly worthless. If he cared this much now, where was he when he was pushing me away without a second thought? I let out a cold laugh and raised my hand, and smashed the Stitch figurine that held our 8 years of love into 1,000 pieces. Ethan went completely silent. I brushed the ceramic shards off my clothes and smiled. Oops. I dropped it. Guess you'll have to clean it up. I've been cleaning the floors for years. It's only fair you do it once, right? I slung my bag over my shoulder and walked past him without looking back. Remember to sign the divorce papers. I'm only giving you 3 days. If you refuse after that, I'll file a lawsuit. I have all the evidence of your adultery. And a lawsuit will only make things worse for you. Think carefully. Mr. Hayes, you actually said that. I stirred my coffee and nodded. That was so badass. I wish I'd gotten back at my ex like that when we broke up, Nora said, looking me up and down. But I really didn't expect this from you. Layla, you loved Ethan so much back then. We all thought you were just pretending to be strong these past few days. The lawyer chimed in. You have no idea. When your ex started trying to win you back, we all thought you'd forgive him. I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear and took a sip of coffee. Truth be told, I'd given myself a lot of leeway. I'm an all-or-nothing person. When I love with everything I have. I never hide my feelings except when it came to my relationship with Ethan. From the first time he crossed that line, I knew I had to leave. I couldn't stand the thought of my marriage being tainted, but I didn't leave right away. I couldn't just walk away from 8 years of love, so I gave myself time. And Ethan and Avery didn't disappoint. They showed me just how rotten this marriage had become. The day I decided to get divorced was the day I finally let go of Ethan. Now, far from feeling sad, I only wish I'd been more decisive. I wanted Ethan to feel exactly the pain I'd felt all those years. I handed the signed papers to the lawyer, and she nodded after reading them. The papers are valid. Congratulations, Ms. Bennett. I smiled, looking at the lawyer who'd become completely disillusioned with marriage after handling so many divorces, and then at Nora, who'd lost 20 pounds after her breakup and still hadn't gotten her color back. A thought crossed my mind. To our Pyrrhic victory. As we were leaving, the lawyer asked me that question again. What are you going to do next? I thought for a moment and said, first, I'm going to take a long vacation. My under-eye bags are practically touching the floor. Nora immediately raised her hand. Let's go get massages together. I've had no appetite lately. I can't eat. I can't sleep, the lawyer said. How about we go to Hawaii together? I haven't taken a vacation in forever. We walked and laughed, making plans, until Nora nudged me with her elbow and nodded ahead. Not far away, Ethan was staring at me, his eyes never leaving my face. Wow. Someone can't let go. Do all men only realize they love someone after they've lost them? The lawyer asked sincerely. Nora patted her shoulder and said solemnly, you don't get it. This is what adult love is like. What's he holding? It looks ugly. That's when I noticed what Ethan was holding. It was the Stitch figurine I'd smashed. He'd glued it back together, and behind him was a craft store. I pressed my lips together. I'd smashed the Stitch figurine for a reason. I didn't want to keep anything that reminded me of Ethan. Just looking at it made me sick to my stomach. I never thought he'd put it back together. I took a deep breath and walked straight past him with my friends, pretending I hadn't seen him. This time, Ethan didn't follow, but I could feel his eyes on me the whole time. In the end, we went to Hawaii together for a week. Nora saw the news about Ethan's car accident while I was getting a facial. Nora shot up from the bed, pointing at a blurry face on the screen. Is that Ethan? I recognized his face immediately and nodded. Karma's a bitch. I closed my eyes and stopped listening. The news says he kept calling your name while he was unconscious. Wow. I didn't hear that last part. I lay on the bed with a face mask on, soft music playing in the background, and drifted off into a peaceful sleep.